good, thank you.
Good. My name's Jade. I'm going to be your trainer today. As you're aware, you are here to do some training on working effectively and sustainably in the construction industry today. As I say, my name's Jade. I've been doing this for about 1 year now, and your employer has put you forward for this training today. So he explained that you already have a lot of existing skills and knowledge, and we're simply just going to try to expand on that today. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's right.
Perfect. And it was Connor?
That's correct, yeah.
Cool. Well, lovely to meet you. Glad to have you here today. Do you want to tell me a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, I work in construction. Been doing it for quite a while now. Recently moved companies 2 years ago. Really enjoying it. Feel like I could potentially do more.
Cool. Anything else you'd like to add?
Yeah, if we're going through this, can you use a spell check? Because my reading and writing's not that great.
Yeah, absolutely. You can use a spell check.
Potentially a screen reader if there's one there to use as well.
Yeah, of course. So if you are required to utilise any of those today, we can absolutely do that. So we have iPads available for that. Okay. So are you familiar with the use of an iPad?
Yeah.
Cool. So I'll just show you how this works. So you're familiar with these functions. You have used Apple before?
Yep.
Perfect. Okay. So we shouldn't have any issues with that. So you see here, and this is how you access the screen read function. So you simply have to, if there is something we'll need to utilize that for, you just simply highlight your text and we can get that switched over then into audio for you for that clearer explanation of what it is that you need to do. So does that make sense?
Yeah, no.
Perfect. Well, I can run through that with you if need be. So that is, as I say, you're not going to be doing much self-reading today. So most of what we'll be doing, we'll be discussing, we'll go through this PowerPoint presentation and do most of the training through there. There will be one activity where you'll be required to read from the page, but we can absolutely use a screen read or a spell check using the iPad if you need to. And of course I'll be here all day as well, just to reassure you. So we can work together, there's no pressure, you don't need to rush through anything, and we can utilise this as much as we need. So that's absolutely fine. And if you have any issues at all, I can work with you to make sure you understand everything okay.
Yeah.
Is that okay?
That's fine.
Perfect. Alright, so before we get into it, just a couple of things. So the nearest toilet is through this door here, fire exit through this door here, and of course if you need to use the bathroom at all, please feel free to go and use it, and if you have any issues, you just reach out to me. Okay? Is that okay?
Yep.
Perfect. Okay, so we've also got a couple of things here. So if there are some things that we talk about today that you're not quite sure what they mean, that's absolutely fine as well. You just let me know. We do have a glossary of terms here, okay, for some of the definitions that you might need some further clarification on. So if there is anything that crops up today, please let me know. If you need my pace slow down at all, we can make sure that we do that. And as I say, please refer to this list, this glossary of terms, so that if there is anything that you need sort of further clarification on, you should be able to find the term in here. But if there's anything that's not covered in this, you can just let me know and we can stop and I can go over that with you. Is that okay? Cool. Okay. Also have an activities page here and a training handout. So everything that you learn here today, you'll be able to take this away with you, okay? So you can refer back to it for any further information if you do require it.
Yeah.
Okay, there's a couple of interactive quizzes and activities here as well that might be beneficial for you guys to use within your workplace as well. Alright, so I will leave that with you. The last thing I have here is a learner evaluation form. So this is kind of like a bit of feedback for us so that we can learn about how we can do better to give you guys the training that you need. So we'll get this completed at the end of the training session and you can just hand that back in before you leave today. questions so far?
No.
Okay. Perfect. Well, then we'll get into it. As I say, please let me know if you need me to slow down or explain anything further. Okay, well, we'll get into our 30-minute session. So, as you're aware, we will be looking at working effectively and sustainably in the construction industry today. Can you see this screen clearly?
Yep.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Okay, perfect. Alright. Okay, so we'll start with a bit of an icebreaker. So it is just you and I today. So let's talk about why we are here. We've covered that. Now let's start with a weird or funny fact about yourself. Something unusual, strange talent, an odd experience, a quirky habit, it could be anything.
I'd say maybe when I was 5, I was messing around on the stairs and I fell down and bit my tongue off.
Really?
And I
You
hit
bit
the
your
bottom.
tongue off?
I did indeed, and rushed to hospital, and yeah, it was in a world of bother.
Oh gosh, did they manage to save your tongue?
They did.
They
They
did?
did. They managed to
The doctor's done well?
stitch it back on.
Wow, that's very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I bet your parents were not thrilled about that one.
No, they weren't. It was very stressful for you.
I imagine it would have been. Well, I'm glad to hear that they managed to save your tongue. That's great news. My fun fact, I guess, would be that I can do the alphabet backwards. So that was one of my grandmother's quirks. So I think she kind of made it her mission to make sure that all of her 13 grandchildren could say the alphabet backwards.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of my party trick. Cool. Well, now that we've gotten that out of the way, we'll move into the session. So we'll start with the learning objectives for today. So understand legislated work, health and safety requirements that are relevant to Renovation 123. We're going to learn about how to deal with changes and unexpected problems that you may encounter at Renovation 123, and about working well in a team, so including helping and encouraging others. Alright, so legislation, regulations and codes. So we love to talk about legislation. Alright, so each state and territory actually has its own legislation, regulations and codes relating to sustainability and environmental protection within the construction industry. So legislation, in short, a set of laws that govern the way that we live and we work in Australia. Same with the regulations in that they are just a practical implementation of legislation. So they're issued by a government agency and often referred to as codes. So how much understanding do you have currently of the legislation that applies to workplace health and safety in WA?
Yeah, fairly reasonable, working around it for quite a while.
Yeah, I guess being a team leader, right, you probably have a pretty good understanding of the things that are most relevant to you.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so like an employer's responsibility, your responsibility as an employee, that kind of thing. How to work safely, effectively, how to do things the best way, right?
Yeah.
So how do you think the world would turn if we were to live in a world without any legislation, without any laws?
They're definitely there for a reason.
Yeah, sure.
There'd be more workplace injuries, I'd imagine.
Yeah,
if
for
they
sure.
weren't in place.
So does that mean that we all do follow the rules?
I'd say we all know the rules, but we probably don't always follow them.
No. So why do you think that some people are more likely to non-conform, to follow the rules than others?
To get the job done quicker.
Yeah.
Sometimes think that a bit of complacency, the rules don't apply to them because they've been doing it for so long.
Exactly, yeah. I think to imagine a world without laws, I think the first word that comes to my mind is chaos.
Mm-hmm.
So we really need these guidelines. So we need to know, there needs to be consequences to our actions, right? So that if things are not done correctly or safely and there are consequences, that's going to allow us to grow and to learn, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
Keeps us in check. So regulations, again, so these are pretty hefty documents. So these documents are accessible via a number of ways. So we can access these via the internet, we can go to our nearest library if we need to. So if you ask your employer for a copy of workplace health and safety legislation and codes of practice, you absolutely can have access to those, and sometimes they're a really good guideline to follow when you are, especially as yourself being a team leader, really will help sort of understand everything that you need to about the tasks that you're completing. So codes of practice. So codes of practice are not set in stone as a law, but they really are a very good guideline. So maybe we are completing, I don't know, general carpentry works, right, within renovation 1, 2, 3. We can refer to that section that covers that task, and they're going to give us a pretty good set out guideline for how we should be doing that task safely and effectively. If we opt to not do that and then something occurs and perhaps there is a workplace incident that demurs are going to investigate, we need a pretty good reason and a pretty good explanation for why we're not following the code of practice for that task. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So everybody has a duty of care to make sure that their workplaces are safe. So now an employer's responsibility is going to differ from an employee's responsibility, right? So your employer, so renovation 1, 2, 3, they must provide a safe and healthy work environment. They must provide you with adequate workplace facilities. They must provide information, training, instruction and supervision. Why do you think that is important?
Sets the employee up for success, really.
Yeah.
So there isn't, less likely of injury.
Yeah, absolutely. So
And people following rules.
exactly, yeah. So these are really important. So we can't just send people out into the workplace without sufficient training. We have to make sure that as an employer, the people that are completing the tasks that are given to them understand the best, the safest way to do them. They have to be trained to complete them safely, right? So these are all really important things. Now, as employees, our responsibility is to make sure that we are actually following the guidelines, the policies, the procedures that are set out, okay? We must comply with those. We must also use any personal protective equipment supplied by our employer. You must also use plant, equipment, vehicles responsibly and safely. We must know the emergency procedures for the site and also how to use safety equipment. We must report incidents or any potential hazards to our employer and contribute to keeping the work site clean and tidy. So your general housekeeping tasks, so just picking things up after ourselves. If we see a trip hazard, we eliminate it. Take responsibility for our own health and well-being and avoid harming the health and well-being of anybody else, right? So it's pretty simple stuff. So you see this over here. So if you feel unsafe at any time, you have the right to stop work. Is that something that you are aware of? You know that that is your right?
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
And that's something that I guess would be communicated within your team to make sure that everybody is of that understanding. Especially newer people to the industry who maybe don't feel so confident in speaking aloud.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so it's a really important one to make sure that we are adhering to, making sure that we are encouraging people to speak up if they see something that is possibly not safe.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so moving on to workplace hazards and risks. So what is a hazard? So a hazard is anything that has the potential to cause injury, illness, damage or harm. On the flip side, what is a risk?
Likelihood, something that could be potentially
Yeah.
cause harm.
So a risk can be defined as a measure of the likelihood of harm arising from exposure to any hazard, right? So there is a pretty clear difference there, okay? They're clearly defined and there is a very obvious difference. That said, people tend to mix these two up. Is that something that you find occurs within your workplace?
Yeah, I'd say so, definitely.
Yeah. Well, we'll move on into an activity. We're going to just try to test our knowledge here on that, okay, to see if we really can sort of understand the difference between a hazard and a risk today. So we'll flip over to page 2 of your activity page. Now, I'll I'll read these instructions to you. So, hazard versus risk quiz. So we're simply going to be reading and ticking. So for each example, you have to decide whether it is a hazard or a risk.
Yeah.
Then we have to circle or tick the correct answer. Is that something that you'd be comfortable with? I'm very happy to assist you. I can read the answers, I can read the questions aloud and we can discuss. And is that something that would be better? Yeah,
please, that'd be better.
that is absolutely fine. So, all right, so we've number one here. So, one, the chance of slipping on a wet floor. So would that be a hazard or a risk?
That'd be a risk.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool. Number two, unprotected electrical wires hanging from the ceiling.
Yeah, that'd be a hazard.
Yeah, absolutely. Number three, the possibility of being electrocuted by exposed wires.
So, because it's a possibility, it'd be a risk.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. A loud noise from machinery.
Yeah, that's a hazard.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. A slippery floor.
Hazard.
Yeah. Hearing damage from prolonged exposure to loud machinery noise.
That'd be a risk because it's prolonged. Yeah.
A machine with missing safety guards.
Hazard.
Yeah. The likelihood of injury from operating a machine without safety guards.
Be a risk.
Yeah. The chance of being unable to exit quickly in an emergency due to a blocked exit.
But that'd be a risk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the last one, a blocked emergency exit.
A hazard.
Absolutely right. Well, that's great. You've done really, really well there. So it's pretty clear to me that you understand the difference between the two. So that's really good because that's something that you really want to sort of discuss within the workplace. We really want to make sure that we are creating that culture where we are encouraging our work teammates to call out hazards, report anything that they may see so that we can minimise that risk of anything occurring.
Yeah.
Okay, so well done, you've done really well on that one.
Thank you.
Alright, so hazard identification. So it's a process of recognising anything in the workplace that could cause harm or problems, right? So it just really involves being aware of the potential risks and then addressing them before they lead to an actual issue. So how can we do this effectively?
Talk to others.
Yeah.
Stay observant.
100%. So we really want to just stay aware, stay alert, avoid distraction. Yeah, really focusing on the things that are going on around us and not turning a blind eye. So staying observant. So we want to regularly look around our workplace for anything that could pose a potential risk, right? Talk to others. So ask your colleagues about the potential hazards that they've noticed or they've experienced. So like what changes have occurred. Thinking ahead. Consider how the task or changes in the workplace might introduce new risks. How might your task change to the point that there are now new risks involved?
You might be doing a different task and
But what about if something, the task doesn't necessarily change, something else has changed?
environment.
Yeah, the environment, the weather.
Yeah, weather being one.
Yeah,
Lightning
so
or-
lightning, for instance. So now that our task has got new risk involved, there's new hazard, right?
Yeah.
So we need to make sure that we are staying aware and we're addressing any new hazards that arise and make sure that we're effectively controlling them. So think ahead. So staying informed as well. Keep up to date with safety procedures and potential risks that are related to our jobs. And then report concerns. So share any hazards or safety concerns to the appropriate person so that they can be addressed. Alright, so moving on, we're going to talk about awareness. Okay, we're going to watch this video and see how aware do you think you are? Would you consider yourself someone that is generally quite an aware person?
Yeah, I'd say so. Like I said, I do struggle a little bit, but yeah, should be okay.
Yeah, well, I think you're doing great so far. It seems like you're picking everything up just fine. But anyway, we'll watch this video. I think for yourself as well, like sometimes, and I don't know if you agree, but sometimes watching things to get an explanation is kind of that visual demonstration to sort of really help you grasp what it is that we're trying to understand and learn about.
Yeah.
All right, we'll get this video played. Hopefully we will have volume. You can see this okay?
Yeah.
Here's your challenge. How many people in orange shirts get subs? Go.
So
7 people in
Yeah.
orange shirts got subs.
Well done.
But what else did you see? Did you notice the ice cream truck change to a pizza truck? Did you notice the glasses? What about the man leaving the suspicious package next to the truck? Your next challenge, be aware of your surroundings. If you see something suspicious, say something to local authorities.
All right. What were your thoughts on that video? What do you think the key takeaways from that would be?
don't get fixated on one thing and observe the whole environment.
Yeah,
More than
so-
one thing going on.
For sure. So avoid tunnel vision, okay? So maintain awareness. Have a good look around what's going on around you, what's changed, what else is going on. We're always going to have new hazards, new problems arise. So it really is important that when we're at work, we don't zone in on one thing, but we don't sort of let complacency creep in as well. So we really need to make sure that we are staying alert and self-aware of what is going on around us, okay? Does that make sense? Yeah, you need any further clarification at all on anything so far? Or,
No, I think yeah,
yeah, my pace is okay, you
Yeah.
don't need me to, okay.
no, that's fine, thank you.
Okay, so let's move on to psychosocial hazards. So, have you heard of this term before, psychosocial?
No.
Okay, so psychosocial hazards, they're recognized as a major health and safety hazard, okay? If they are left untreated, they can cause real psychological harm. So when I say psychosocial hazard, I'm talking about hazards that we don't necessarily see. So it might be something to do with our brains, okay? So psychological, that's the difference. So maybe this lead over here, that could be a tripping hazard. So that is a physical hazard that we can see, right? If I come in today and I was stressed, I was very stressed, you could tell there was something wrong with me, now that would be a psychosocial hazard, okay?
Mm-hmm.
It's nothing physical. I might do really well at hiding it, but it's a psychosocial hazard. Okay? So the meaning of psychosocial hazard. Psychosocial hazards refer so aspects of the work environment or work processes that can negatively affect a person's mental health, their well-being, and their overall psychological safety. So they arise from the way that people are treated at work, the nature of their work, so whether their job is really stressful, or they're doing a lot of hours, they're working more hours than they can manage. So work environment itself. So an example of a work environment that might cause people to be stressed, let's say, would be perhaps the weather. What about inadequate facilities? What about if your employer couldn't provide you with clean facilities to have your lunch or to use the bathroom, things like that?
Yeah.
That might cause strain, stress, right? So it can lead to stress, to burnout, anxiety, depression, all sorts of mental health issues if we don't manage them. So it's really important that we take psychosocial hazards seriously. So if you had a worker approach you and say, look, it's getting too much, they're asking too much of us, we can't get the job done safely within the times that they're given, right? I'm stressed. Would you consider that as a hazard?
Yeah.
Yeah, a psychosocial hazard. So it's something that we need to consider with as much sort of regard as we would physical hazards. Okay, so that's really important. Buddy system, recognizing the signs of any issues, bless you, that might arise. Okay, so noticing any changes in the people that we're working with and things like that. Clear signs of stress. Psychosocial hazards can arise outside of work as well. So if someone's got something going on in their personal life, they could quite easily bring that stress into the workplace with them. So it's really, really important to check in on our buddies. Okay. So we'll watch another video for another bit of a visual to give you more clearer understanding of what psychosocial hazards mean.
Yeah.
Okay.
Physical hazards in our workplaces are well known, but psychosocial hazards are not as often discussed. So what are psychosocial hazards, and how can you identify them in your workplace? They are the hazards that increase the risk of work-related stress. These hazards can arise from the design or management of your work, the working environment itself, or workplace interactions and behaviours. A work-related stress response is the physical, mental, and emotional reaction that occurs when a worker perceives the demands of their work exceed their ability to cope. Some examples of psychosocial hazards include a lack of role clarity, high or low job demand, inadequate reward and recognition, and exposure to harmful workplace behaviours. Work-related stress, if prolonged or severe, can cause both psychological and physical harm. It is good practice then to proactively manage the risks associated with psychosocial hazards, as this will protect your workers and will decrease the disruption that comes from staff turnover and absenteeism. It can also improve broader organisational performance and productivity. Download SafeWork SA's Psychosocial Risk Assessment Toolkit to identify the hazards, assess the risks, and implement control measures in your workplace.
All right. How did you find that video? Do you find that that was clear in what they were saying? Was there anything that you would like me to recap, or anything that wasn't clear? Any terms that were not understood? Anything you'd like me to
I think
touch
I have
on?
an understanding of it now.
Okay, perfect. So as I say, it's pretty simple once we get our heads around it, but I think it's just something that a lot of people don't consider as something that should be considered really seriously in the workplace. Okay, so it's a really important one to make sure that we're managing in our workplaces. Okay, so this ties quite nicely then into teamwork. So fostering positive relationships within your workplace. So why that matters? So positive workplace relationships, they reduce conflict, they promote teamwork and create a more supportive and enjoyable work environment for everyone. Okay?
Yeah.
Why do you think that is important?
So everyone gets along and everyone's day goes a bit easier.
Yeah. And how might conflict serve as not a nice workplace to be in? What issues might conflict lead to?
Stress.
Yeah.
Potential.
Do you think if two people have conflict with one another, they're going to work well as a team?
No, teamwork be down.
Yeah. So are we more likely to face the potential for further issues arising?
Yeah.
Absolutely. So healthy relationships are crucial for maintaining good mental health and then reducing stress among your workers, okay? So providing support, team members offer emotional and professional support which reduces isolation and stress. We're looking to improve communication, so open communication prevents misunderstandings and conflict. Balancing workloads, tasks that are shared, preventing overwhelming workers, right? Collaboration, so teams that can problem solve together, which is going to overall ease our anxiety about completing those tasks. Promoting well-being, so team building and check-ins, we're supporting one another's mental health. Creating a positive environment, that's really important. A culture of respect and trust to really reduce stress and overall burnout. Another really important one here is to encourage diversity and inclusion. So it's really, really important that we acknowledge and we celebrate diversity. We want to ensure that everybody feels included, respected and valued for their unique contributions, okay, that they bring to the workplace. So it's really, really important that we make sure to do this. We never want to demean anyone. We all have our strengths and weaknesses, and it's really important that we value that, okay? So in short, teamwork fosters a supportive and balanced work environment, and that aims to reduce psychosocial risk, okay? Alright, so working together, working in a team, so as we've discussed, it offers many advantages, okay? So just to maximise our experience, it's important to recognise the value and unique knowledge, skills and background that each person brings. Okay, so maybe when we are working together as a team, we want to consider the following tips when we're doing that. So communication is a really important one. We want to make sure that when we're communicating openly and constructively. So whether that is feedback, we want to make sure that we're doing that in a way that is not going to make people feel a certain way. We need to do that sensitively, respectfully, okay? Listen actively, be reliable and cooperative. Support and encourage your teammates. So we really want to help them, we want to encourage them to grow, okay? We're all working together, we're one team, we all have the same goals, and we want to do that in a way that is going to allow for growth overall. So value diverse opinions, we want to show respect for one another, and also value opinions for better decisions. As I say, we're all working towards the same goal, so it's really important that we do that. Alright, so some barriers to teamwork. But when I say barriers, I mean some things that might not allow us to get to a place where we have good teamwork. So things that will prevent us having effective teamwork. Poor communication, unclear goals, lack of skills or knowledge, poor leadership, poor organisation and personal conflict. So teamwork really can be improved through discussions and effective communication. So anyone, including yourself, including myself, we can all start a conversation, okay? So it's really important that if there is a barrier to effective teamwork, we are addressing that promptly.
Yeah.
Alright, well, we're going to move on and just we've got one more video to watch. We'll watch the video, we'll have a quick discussion, and then that will be the end of your training session today. So we'll get right into that, and then if there are any questions at the end, we'll make sure that we address those today.
Yeah.
Okay?
Perfect.
Alright.
I could have saved a life that day, but I chose to look the other way. It wasn't that I didn't care. I had the time, and I was there.
But I didn't want to seem a fool and argue over a safety rule.
I knew you'd done the job before. If I spoke up, you might get scored.
The chances didn't seem that bad. I'd done the same. He knew I had.
So I shook my head and walked by. He knew the risks as well as I.
He took the chance, I closed an eye, and with that act, I let him die.
I could have saved a life that day, but I chose to look the other way.
Now every time I see his wife, I know I should have saved his life.
That guilt is something I must bear, but isn't something you need to share.
If you see a risk
that others take that puts their health or life at stake.
The question asked, what can you say, could help them live another day.
If you see a risk and walk away, then hope you never have to say, I could have saved a life that day, but I chose to look the other way.
Alright, so a pretty powerful video to end there. So this activity is simply a discussion. So what were your thoughts on that video? Do you think it was a pretty powerful message there that they were sharing?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so what can you take away from that?
If you do see something, speak up.
Yeah, for sure.
Don't look the other way.
Don't look the other way like they did. It really is something that we'd have
It
to...
could save a life.
Yeah, for sure. But why do you think that some people would, like they said? Why would you turn the other way if you saw something and say?
Scared they're going to get in trouble or told off.
Yeah, and it's a sensitive subject to tell someone that maybe they're not doing something that they've done for a very long time the best way, right? Sometimes people don't want to be told. It causes conflict. Sometimes it is simply just easier to look the other way, right?
Yeah.
That's why it's really important to promote and build that culture within the workplace where people are encouraged to speak up and call out on actions that are not being done in the safest way.
Yeah.
Alright, well that concludes our 30-minute training session today. Thank you so much for your participation. You've done really, really well. I hope that you've enjoyed the training today, and I hope that you have found it beneficial, that you can take your new knowledge and apply it in the field. Have you got any questions at all?
No.
No, pretty well covered. That's fine. As I say, you do have a handout which you can take with you today. Anything that you need further clarification on, you can get that from in there. Most of the content will be covered there. And of course, please keep your glossary of terms as well. If that's something that you feel will be of use to you, you can take that. Have you got any feedback at all for me in regard to our training session today? Is there anything that I could do to make it more a better experience for you?
I think it was good. Like I said, I struggle with reading and writing, so having the option of the iPad or are you willing to write is a big help.
No, that's really, really good. And as I say, if there is something that, any feedback that you do have, please put it in the learner evaluation form that you can complete for me when we are done here. I'll just get you to hand that in before you leave today. If you need any assistance with completing that form as well, my colleague downstairs will help you out with that. Of course, please let me know if there is anything. Like I said, we're always striving to do better here. Okay, well that's great. Thank you so much for your participation, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.
Thank you.
That's fine. Thanks so much. Please don't tell me it's been on for